We have a couple of people with us. So if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, if you could just say hi so we can make sure the comments are working, because we're actually using a new platform. Hi, Liz from California. And I'm going to try and, before we get going, find this on my phone so I can see. Mute my phone so I can see what's happening.
I'm so glad it's not just me that does that.
No, it's not. So bear with us. Hey, Kimberly from Kansas. So we got Liz from California and Kimberly from Kansas. What time is it in Kansas? Okay, somewhere here. Bear with us. This is new. We're stepping out of our comfort zones, Seonaidh and I. Okay, there. Yes, there we are. Yay. Okay. We're there. And we now have 4 people watching. So please, if you're watching, pop in the comments, say hi, and where you're watching from. And so the question, let me rewind. Breathe. I get to practice some of my own confidence stuff right now as I get a little excited about this live stream. This is the first time I have shared a live stream with somebody, so bear with us. So are you feeling anxious about getting back in the saddle? That's the question. I know some of you have been riding. Some of you have been able to visit your horses but not ride. And some of you have not even been able to visit your horses. So that's what Seonaidh and I wanted to share with you today, is some tips for getting back in the saddle, whether you've had a layoff because of the wonderful COVID virus and things have been shut down, or you've had time off for other reasons. I know I certainly have had times when I haven't been able to ride, and Seonaidh's the same. So if it's the first time joining me on a live, I'm Ann Gage, the horse riding confidence coach, and I help anxious horse riders get back in the saddle with confidence and joy. And with me is Seonaidh Jamieson of Cherry Tree Training. And Seonaidh is a certified personal trainer who hates going to the gym. In fact, she didn't even like PE or phys ed in high school.
It was a nightmare.
So horse riding was the first exercise that she really fell in love with. It really captured her heart, and it's been a key part of her life for the last 15 years. And that's actually how Seonaidh and I met, through an interest in riding. And so now she works with busy horse riders, moms, business owners, and professionals to improve their confidence in their bodies and reach their fitness goals outside of the gym environment. So you see some people are popping some comments in here. That's great. It's 11 o'clock in California and Kansas. Oh, in California, not Kansas. And Monica says, I haven't been able to get back in the saddle since last year. I had a bad riding experience with my horse last year. Well, Monica, I hope you find the information that Seonaidh and I are sharing today helpful. And please do pop in questions and comments as we go along. So I'm going to turn it over to Seonaidh and let her share her story about getting back in the saddle after a long layoff.
So getting back in the saddle is always an interesting time. And I'm getting a little bit of feedback from you. So if anyone else is picking that up as well. Oh, it stopped. That's fine. So I've had quite a few gaps from being in the saddle, out of the saddle, in the saddle, out of the saddle. I've never owned my own horse. I've always loaned or ridden my friends' horses or ridden school horses. And that makes it a bit harder to stay consistent as well. And when you're loaning, you quite often are riding animals that have a history with other people, and you're kind of an extra part of a cog as opposed to a central part of it. So it's a little bit different, I find, than if you've got one horse, one rider, and there's lots of other bits and bobs. So I've had confidence blips just as Anne has. So I had quite a significant one when I was 16, and I nearly didn't get back on. And it's through good instruction. So Anne's been a key part in my confidence journey, but she's going to come on to what she does in a minute. But I cannot stress enough how essential she's been in bringing me back to riding like myself. For me, the biggest bearing on my riding confidence was my confidence in my own body. So when I started riding, I wasn't very physically fit. I wasn't very active. I didn't have much confidence in what I could do. So I couldn't touch my toes. I couldn't do a press up. If you said to me anything about pull-ups or doing anything like that, I would have run in the other direction. But when I started doing training off the horse and started improving my core strength and my cardiovascular fitness, I just had this bigger reliance on my own body and this bigger trust and faith that my body could look after me. So I don't know about you, but I am a massive overthinker. It's a really, bad habit of mine. I think the best round of show jumps I've ever done, the instructor stood in the middle and told me to tell her how to make a lasagna to distract my brain. It worked. It was great. But actually trusting in my body to just get on with the job was a really important thing. So knowing my body off the horse, knowing how I move, knowing I've got the strength and the endurance and the mobility and the stability to get on and ride, it means I'm not worried about that. It means that I'm not worried about what might happen because I know my core can look after me if something unexpected happens. I know my hips can follow the movement without stretching my flexibility. I know that I've got the balance to just let things happen underneath me, and actually having the ability to just be present and let my body get on with it has been enormous for me. It's got me out of my head and into the saddle, quite literally. And it's also given me something. So Anne and I will talk a lot about mind-body connection. Our mind and our body are interconnected in a massive way. And training off the horse is a great way of getting to know your body. For me, I've learned to recognize the signs of being anxious before my brain tells me. So my body tells me before my brain. So I get that little heads up that, like, okay, take it back a notch. Do some of the techniques that Anne has given me to work on my confidence. Get back into that kind of growth zone and out of the place that I feel overstretched. And actually, it's just given me this much greater understanding. So trusting my body and knowing my body have been absolutely essential. And I know plenty of riders who've come back, particularly after having children. If you're a mum who doesn't feel like you've got the connection with your core again, that can be quite a big factor. So I've worked with quite a few people who are trying to get that trust back in their own body before they get their trust back in riding. So it's almost like your body is your body. You work on that independently of your horse, then you can bring it back to the horse and you'll be a much better partner for your horse. And that's where I've really focused my efforts when I've been training during the gaps in my riding career, of which there are many and varied. But yeah, I guess, Anne, do you have any questions? Is there anything I've missed there? I mean,
Sorry, I just turned my mic off so we weren't getting the echo. But yeah, so since you don't like going to the gym, you don't like using equipment, so somebody my age, I'm 58. I don't particularly enjoy going to a gym or working out with equipment either. What is one exercise, without going into too much detail, just, basically, what exercise could someone do to start improving their core strength? Because that's a big thing for us riders, of being stable in the saddle.
Absolutely. So core strength is a big one, and our core has a few key functions, one of which is, well, it's involved in breathing, and it's involved in controlling the position of our pelvis. So if we forcibly exhale, we activate the really deep core muscles. We activate our transabs, the ones that come across the way, as opposed to focusing on those six-pack muscles, which we do all have, which are quite a superficial muscle. And they're important, but they're not the whole story. So breathing out forcibly. So I'll do an example. So breathing in and breathing out all the way, and really pushing the last bit of air out. When you think there's nothing left, push a little bit more. And you should feel that really deep in your core and really deep in your belly. And as you breathe in, I want you to think of breathing in. So instead of letting your belly do all the work, think of letting your ribs expand all the way out. Think of letting your back expand. Our ribs and our belly is a 360-degree affair. So breathing in all the way and breathing out all the way. Keep it going. There's one little bit left. Breathe out more. And breathe in again. I would only recommend doing a couple of these because you can make you feel a little bit dizzy. But that really deep core activation is something you can practice every now and again throughout the day, throughout the week. You can do it before you get on and ride. And it just reminds your brain that your core is there and it can rely on it. To add in tilting your pelvis, you can do what's called a posterior pelvic tilt, where you tuck your tailbone. Tucking your tailbone turns on your core as well. So if you imagine your pelvis is here and there's a ball in your pelvis, you want to roll the ball behind you. So you're tucking everything in. And that by itself is going to activate your core. So I'm doing that while I'm sitting here and you can't see it. But when I tuck my tailbone, I roll that ball out behind me, my core is engaged. So if you use a mixture of those exercises or combine them, so as you breathe in, you relax, you breathe out, you tuck your tailbone, and you really breathe out. This is going to work your core really hard. And it's one of the first things we have to do to help improve our strength is remind our brain that our bodies exist. We spend our lives riding, trying to remind our horses they've got a bum. We need to do the same to ourselves. So we need to remind our body to use our glutes, to use our core, to use the muscles in our back. So this is a really great way of just saying, hey brain, here's your core, please use it. Oh, and you're still muted.
Oh, there. That's a great exercise. I could actually feel my core muscles while I was trying to do that. And I mean, that is so simple that I could do that at any point during the day, right? Even if I'm sitting at a desk or driving my car, whatever, standing, grooming my horse, I could be doing that. Walking.
Doing the dishes.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And the other thing I love about that exercise is because breathing is so connected to managing those feelings of anxiety. So when I came on here and I was all a little frazzled, a couple of deep breaths helps to alleviate the feelings of anxiety. So that's just a great exercise for many reasons. So simple. So Sam says, I'm doing that while I walk through the field. That's great, because I was just going to ask, pop in the comments if you actually tried that exercise while Shona was describing it. And if you didn't try it then, do it now. Let us know, did you feel those core muscles? Okay, just pop that in the comments. So what I wanted to talk about from my perspective is motivation, because I know from my own motivation for actually doing any exercise outside of horse riding, it can be a struggle. I used to go to Tai Chi classes when we could go out in public, which is great for core strength and balance. And I enjoyed that. But getting out of the house, because it was early in the morning, was a struggle. There have been times when, especially when you've been away from riding for a while, and you're dealing with confidence issues, and you're dealing with my horse hasn't been exercised, and going into your head about my horse is going to be a kite instead of keeping all 4 feet on the ground. That those kinds of things demotivate and impact your confidence. So you don't go, and then you beat yourself up because you didn't go, and then you feel less confident, and it just becomes this vicious cycle. Hi, Priscilla. So keeping motivated, the number one tip I give you is to know your big why. Remind yourself of why you ride. Remind yourself of the joy it brings, how it feels when you do it, that physical feeling, that emotional feeling, and take yourself back to a time, an experience where you felt really, really excited, exhilarated about a particular ride. It doesn't have to be the whole ride, a moment in a ride. Take yourself back there, and in your imagination, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, and notice what you noticed. And when you do that and you really get into those emotions of remembering your why and remembering all of the joy and the fun that brought you, then you take that emotion and you imagine yourself 15 minutes after having done this thing in the future that you're feeling unmotivated about. So exercising, going to the barn, whatever it might be, you take those emotions with you. You imagine yourself 15 minutes after that event and feeling all those emotions. And then you'll be very excited about doing that thing that you were feeling unmotivated about. So just pop in the comments if what I just said made sense. And if you want to give that a little try, you can do that while we're on this live. So Kimberly says she did the breathing exercise and she's very relaxed. That's excellent. Yeah. And that's what the breathing does for you. So while you're breathing like that, you're relaxing your body, you're relaxing your mind twofold, and you're building your core muscles without having to do any sit-ups or planks. It's a bonus.
I will never ask you to do sit-ups, but I will ask people to do planks.
Oh, darn. All right. I suppose I could do planks.
There's ways of making them fun, I promise.
Okay, so just type in the comments. Share with us what your greatest worry is about getting back in the saddle or getting into the saddle right now if you are still riding. And it takes about, I don't know, 10 or 20 seconds for us to actually see the comments. So we'll just hang out and allow those to pop in. Actually, while we're waiting for those comments to pop in, do you want to do our announcement, Seonaidh?
I think we should.
There's something Seonaidh and I are working on. We're very excited about, and we think you'll be excited about it too. It's a program, a 4-week online program that we're putting together that will get you fit and focused to ride, to get back in the saddle. So I'm going to do the mindset part. Seonaidh's going to do the fitness part. And we're going to look at things like staying motivated or being motivated to exercise and to work with your horse. We're going to look at, Seonaidh's going to give us more exercises like for strengthening your core, and no sit-ups. There will be planks apparently, but there are no sit-ups. And improving your hip and leg mobility and stability, which you know for riding is again core to being secure in the saddle. And that of course impacts your confidence. And I'm going to give you some mindset tips for dealing with the, what ifs and negative thinkings, goal setting, to set a goal so you're actually going to take steps to achieve it, and for being resilient when, things don't go exactly the way you want, because it happens to everybody. And the cart for this exciting Fit and Focus to Ride program opens on Monday. What do you want to say, Seonaidh?
I just want to say that I am really excited. And having worked with Anne, I met Anne through a non-horsey related networking event and absolutely changed how I ride. So, I'm going to big up Anne big time, because working with her is phenomenal. And I can promise there will be no sit-ups, and all of the exercises I give you will be equipment free and really effective. So there's going to be options for all levels. We're going to be able to kind of up the difficulty, reduce the difficulty. It's going to be designed with you in mind. And I know that your big why is not to get really good at squatting, it's to get better at riding. So everything is going to be big bang for your buck, focused, targeted, effective exercises, because I know that you don't want to go to the gym. I don't even want to go to the gym. So it's going to really help you get moving. And combining the mindset work you do with Anne will translate over to helping with those physical gains too, because it'll give you tools to set goals off the horse as well. So yeah, it's kind of well, I mean, Anne and I, of course, are going to think that's a bit of a match made in heaven.
And just on the mindset, the mind and body connection thing, you might have a mindset that you have issues with your body, physical issues, so that you can't do exercises, you can't improve your core strength. And I know, again, especially women who are my age and older, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, it is, I mean, we've had a lot of wear and tear on our bodies, and we start to say, oh, I just can't do that. But there are ways, and Seonaidh knows them because she is a professional personal trainer, certified and everything.
Even insured.
That there are ways that you can still get the best from your body, keep your body healthier, and that's going to make life better, not just for getting on the horse. And even if you're not riding anymore, for the groundwork you do with your horse, because we still need to be agile and balanced, still need to engage our cores for working from the ground with horses. So just in your day-to-day life, it's going to keep your body stronger, right? So I just want to have a look at some of these comments here. So Liz is saying, post-accident, still building trust in my horse and in my ability. And it does, yeah, that thing about trusting your horse and in your own ability is a big one. It's that self-belief, which is part of the mindset. And that's part of what I'll be looking at in this program. Yeah. Kimberly Hawk says, pride. I stop on top of my game, had 2 kids, lost dad, etc. Don't want to fail or start over. So yeah, there's a mindset thing going on there, of course, because this often happens that, we've, especially riders who rode for a long time, were maybe competitive, reached that certain level, and then stopped riding, and they want to get back to that same level. Or, they're not happy because I used to be up here and now here, and I don't know if I'll ever get back up there. But we can do a reassessment of our lives and our goals, and that's part of the goal setting. Is, well, who does it impact, and then coming up with a plan for achieving whatever that goal is. Don't want to fail or start over. So there is no failure. There are only lessons. That's my philosophy. Monica says, both my horses are green. I sent them off to training for 6 months. I was excited to ride. Actually, see, this is so new to me. I can do this. Both my horses are green. I sent them off to training for 6 months. I was excited to ride, got on my mare, and we had a bad accident. Oh dear. I haven't ridden since. Scared of a repeat accident. I'm 50 years old myself, so I can't afford to get hurt. I completely relate to that, Monica. I love both horses, so I really want to keep them. So how long ago was that accident? And you don't get, it would happen on one horse, but you don't ride either horse. So yeah, give us a little bit more. Monica says I'm out of shape too. So here's the thing. For a situation like that, you do need both sides of the equation and an understanding of the horse. And I'm just going to take this down because it's blocking my face.
I'm just peeking over.
So we need to have a belief in ourselves and our skills, and a realistic view of what those skills and abilities are. We need to have an understanding of the horse, where the horse is at, what the horse is capable of, and what the horse needs from us. And the more physically fit we are, the more core strength, the more secure we are in the saddle. And that's what Seonaidh teaches, are those skills, so that if a horse has a whoopsie, if a horse has a spook, or moves suddenly, that we are able to stay in the saddle because of that level of fitness. And we're not talking, you know, Ironman or anything. It's these key areas of your hips, your legs, and your core and your balance. Those are the key areas. So when you've had a bad accident, then and you've had a trauma, then we really need to do some mindset work to release the negative stuff connected to that. And because there's going to be a Q&A component, a live Q&A component with this course and a private Facebook group, we'll be able to help a little bit more with situations like that. Because part of what I do, I have 3 pillars in what I teach. It's the mindset, it's the riding basic foundation position and how you communicate with your horse through your body, and it's understanding the horse. So that if you understand your horse and can read your horse, then you're less likely to have a bad accident, to have something bad happen. Does that make sense, Monica?
And I'm going to just add in a little bit. So a few of you've mentioned having accidents and injuries, so it might be worth mentioning as well. So I have another love. I do acrobatics as well now. This came long after the riding. And last year I had an injury in my shoulder that meant I couldn't pour the kettle. Now, I live in Yorkshire. I can't even begin to describe how devastating that was. And a left-handed brew just does not taste the same. But I've had to take myself from that position where I couldn't move the duvet in bed. I couldn't move my quilt. I couldn't pour the kettle, to now I'm training at my usual level again. And that's a very similar process to getting back in the saddle. So if you've had pain, if you're worried about something hurting, that's a separate process. And that's something that I help a lot of my clients through as well. So this is where those live Q&As will be able to get into the nitty-gritty of the mindset issues, and also looking at that kind of prehab and rehab. So making sure we are able to ride pain-free, because there is nothing worse than worrying about pouring the kettle. You know, we shouldn't be living in pain. And it's a real focus of mine to make sure that you do feel good, and we build on things. We want to increase stability and increase strength at every turn. And that again will help you when you're in the saddle, because you're not worried about moving that shoulder or moving that hip. So it lets you get on with riding as well. So just as an aside.
Yes, that's great. And you know, when your body is healthier, stronger, you reduce the risk of injuring yourself, right? You just because the muscles are, well, Seonaidh can speak to this better than I can, but I know when your muscles are healthier, your joints are healthier, then you're minimizing that risk of injury to joints and muscles. Okay, let's see. Priscilla says, I'm unfit and overweight. One of my horses is also unfit and overweight. Well, you can get fit together. The other one is unfit and spooky, but responds well to clicker training. So need to start off with that with him. So I'm not sure what you mean. Starting off with the clicker training with him, I think is what you're meaning, Priscilla. Can you correct me if I'm wrong on that? But you know, you and your horse can get fit together even before you get back in the saddle, right? I mean, I'm going to let Seonaidh speak to this a bit, but for me personally, walking hand walking your horse, especially if you have access to some little hills around, is a good way to start getting that fitness back.
Yeah, completely agree. Walking is, I mean, I know that Anne and other instructors I've worked with, walk is the most underrated pace for horses, and it's the most underrated pace for people as well. It is just a great exercise, and whether you're walking out on trails, or I do a lot of in-hand work with the horse I'm loaning at the moment. So he's a cheeky cob called Nick, he's fantastic. But me and him spend a lot of time working on the ground, and I am just as tired after those sessions as I am after I've ridden. And it takes me out of the equation a little bit, so we can kind of work on him a bit more. He gets to kind of concentrate, and then when I get back in the saddle, it's even better. So it's like a triple whammy. He's getting to walk, I'm getting to walk, and we're kind of clarifying that communication as well. But yeah, I have an entire 4-week program called Walking in Nature that is just about walking. I love it that much. And I had a meeting with someone yesterday talking about getting people walking more in like corporate settings. So walking is just, yeah, for people, for horses, for dogs, for everything. Best exercise. Never doubt how great a good walk is. You're still on mute.
Good. It's a good thing you're here to remind me when I'm on mute. Yeah, I mean, walking is great for cardio. You can be doing that simple core exercise with the breathing, as that Seonaidh showed us at the beginning. Yeah, and for our horses too. I do so much teaching at the walk. People come to my clinics and say, yeah, I want to work on my canter transitions. Well, first of all, we have to fix your horse's walk, because without a good walk, you can't get a good canter transition. And it's the basis for the horse, and for us, it's the basis of everything. So let's see. Mary. Hi, Mary. My body and health are not great at the moment, but I struggle with what is fear of not being physically able to ride versus truly not having the ability. Oh, okay. So let me see if I'm getting this right. So you're not sure if the fear is of you not being able to physically ride because of where your body and health are right now versus not actually having the riding skill. Is that, am I interpreting that correctly? And Mary also says at 68, I find that others have a mindset that you're too old. Well, just ignore those people. I have had people at my clinics in their 70s that, and look at the Queen, for crying out loud. How old is the Queen?
1,000. I think she's 94.
And she still gets on a pony. Now, she is not riding at the same level she rode when she was 50 or 40 or 30. But neither am I. I'm not doing the same things I was doing 20 years ago. I used to compete and jump. I don't jump anymore. I'm happy to get on a horse and tootle around. Not training a horse, but if I'm just going for a ride, I'm happy to get on and just enjoy that connection with the horse at whatever level the horse is at, however I'm feeling that day, whatever's going on with the weather. And there are also, yes, there may be at some point where you're not physically able to get on a horse. Not saying you're there yet, Mary. But then you can continue to have a partnership with the horse and enjoy the horses from the ground. That is a thing. People do that. Young people do that, where they just take their horses for hikes. And like walking a dog, it's great for the horse's mind to get out of the paddock and spend time together. So that might be just a bit of a mindset about what you're physically capable of doing, Mary. And I think Seonaidh can probably help you with some of that, because part of what coming into this program is that there is a history. We do ask you to provide a history of what your current situation is, injuries, all that kind of stuff, so that this is going to be designed for the people who come into the group. Some of the trainings will be sort of generic for that group, but again, we have the private group and the Q&As where it can be much more personalized to the individuals, and you can get help. And I just see that there's another part of Mary's question here. Probably afraid, which I'm not. In February, my horse spooked badly at ice falling off the arena roof. I stuck to the saddle perfectly, but people were, "Are you all right? Do you need a break?" It invades my psyche. Well, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that is not helpful for someone's confidence. And you start to question yourself, what you hear those voices, and then you worry that, oh, maybe this isn't safe for me to be doing, but you stuck to the saddle perfectly. That's the key thing to remember. So you go back to that situation, Mary, and you recall how well you rode that. And what's the lesson you take from that you could sit through a spook? Ignore the other people. Get them out of your head. Liz is saying, I ride with a 72-year-old. Those California women. Kimberly told us the Queen is 94. That's the Queen is 94.
Guessed right.
Priscilla, sorry, I had to go back on some of these comments here. We have huge hills around here. That's perfect, Priscilla, for the walking. So get out there and, go for walks with your horse in hand. Now, if you're dealing with separation anxiety, your horse gets stressed out and someone can't bring your other horse along. I mean, it's hard right now with social distancing. However, I know things are opening up. So when people are allowed to visit, you can riding horses is one of the easiest ways to keep social distancing, right? We got one horse, somebody with one horse, somebody with the second horse. And if you're a horse length away, you're meeting the social distancing requirements. You might need to be careful about, sharing lead ropes or brushes if people are grooming, but setting ones aside that somebody else uses, leaving them outside because the virus dies outside in, 24 to 72 hours, depending on what surface it's on, or you just dunk it in some disinfectant. Okay, I think I got all of the questions or comments here. So, as we said, you might have already picked up that Seonaidh and I are excited about this program, and we're opening the cart on Monday with a special early bird offer. So stay tuned for that. We're still working on some of the details behind the scenes. So if you're interested and want to be kept in the loop, then pop in the comments, I'm interested, and we'll make sure that you get the link as soon as it's available so you can check it out further. If you know already that you want in, then you can pop that in and we will make sure you're first in the room into the program. Just go and follow Seonaidh on Cherry Tree Training. Seonaidh, you can pop your link in the comments for your page and or your group.
Let me pop it in the group because that's where you'll get the notifications.
And while Seonaidh's doing that, Kim's already interested. Yay. If you know of anybody who was not attending this live but might find this information helpful, please do share it with them, tag them, or share it to your Facebook friends. And we're gonna sign off now. So thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Take care.
This is the slowest I've ever typed. Thank you ever so much. See you later.